In the heart of Wandsworth, South London, at Haldane Place, there once stood a cathedral of British boyhood imagination. From these buzzing assembly lines, 20 million plastic kits flowed every single year. At their peak, they pressed 350,000 Spitfires in a single 12-month period, commanding an absolute 75% of the British market. It was a monolithic juggernaut of domestic manufacturing that translated the triumphs of a world war into miniature. Today, there is nothing left. The factory is gone, completely erased from the map, buried beneath concrete and luxury apartments. But Airfix did not die a natural death. It was murdered, not by a lack of demand, not by the children who loved it. It was destroyed by catastrophic corporate hubris, by men in boardrooms who believed an empire of plastic could never shatter. The ironic truth is, Britain's greatest model empire started by accident. When a promotional plastic model of a Ferguson TE20 tractor proved too flimsy and kept falling apart in salesmen's hands, Airfix simply sold it as a kit of parts. Let someone else have the headache of assembling it. That headache became a weekly ritual, a rite of passage for every British boy in the 1960s and 70s. It invariably began on a Saturday morning, a trip to Woolworths. For a mere 2 shillings, you could buy a Series 1 starter kit hanging from a pegboard in a clear plastic bag. Then came the kitchen table, the newspaper spread out to protect the wood, and the smell, the sharp, intoxicating vapour of polystyrene cement. It was a scent that embedded itself permanently in the memory, leaving a stiff, translucent residue on your fingertips that never quite washed off. And before the distraction of video games, there was Roy Cross. His brilliant gouache paintings didn't just depict a model, they promised swashbuckling adventure. A Lancaster limping home against a bruised sky with engines ablaze. He made you believe that inside that bag wasn't just grey plastic. It was a real machine. But behind the vibrant box art, a fatal rot was taking hold. By the dawn of the 1970s, the executive leadership at Airfix Industries was intoxicated by its own success. Their destruction can be traced to a series of catastrophic blunders. The first was the albatross of Meccano. In 1971, driven by a blind desire to build a monolithic conglomerate, Airfix bought the failing Meccano and Dinky toy brands for £2.7 million. They followed it up by pouring another £4 million into a doomed pram factory in South Wales. It was a disastrous miscalculation. Meccano was a relic of heavy metal in an emerging age of plastic, bleeding £1 million a year. Rather than cut it loose, Airfix management chained their highly profitable Spitfires to a sinking ship. Then came the arrogance. The 1973 global oil crisis quadrupled the price of polystyrene, a petroleum derivative. Instead of innovating, Airfix panicked, attempting to force a massive price increase onto their export markets. They assumed the world would blindly pay a premium for British prestige. The world refused. Meanwhile, overseas competitors like Japan's Tamiya were introducing crisper surface details and tighter fits that Airfix's aging 1950s moulds simply couldn't match. But the final, fatal blow wasn't a lack of sales. It was a brutal arithmetic by the banks. Strangled by the massive debts of Meccano, the bankers stepped in and ruthlessly dismantled the company. They looked at the assets and made a sickening decision. They sold off Airfix's highly profitable industrial plastics division, the one making mundane bathroom accessories, for £47 million. They took the £47 million and left the legendary model kit division, the very soul of the brand, to drown in the red ink. January 1981. The empire cracks. Airfix Industries is forced into receivership. The presses that had been closing and opening since the Festival of Britain went entirely still. The workers were locked out in the cold, but the tragedy of the bankruptcy was nothing compared to the profound betrayal that followed. The corporate corpse was bought by an American conglomerate, General Mills. The master molds, those 700-kilogram blocks of precision-cut steel that formed the very DNA of British boyhood, were ripped from domestic soil. They were packed into crates and shipped across the English Channel to Calais, and later left to rot in open-air storage in a Normandy barnyard. In the chaos of foreign ownership, priceless molds were irreparably damaged or lost forever. The very first Airfix mold, that original Ferguson tractor, scrapped. The legendary 1955 Spitfire mold, gone. Today, the Airfix name miraculously survives on store shelves. But the soul is gone. The kits are no longer pressed in South London. They are designed in Margate, the moulds are cut in China, and the injection moulding is outsourced to Bangalore, India. Modern purists open the boxes and sigh, pointing to softer plastic and short-shot defects that betray the uncompromising precision of the British-made originals. The executives who destroyed Airfix in 1981 did not just bankrupt a company. They systematically dismantled a piece of the national soul. They traded British engineering pride for toxic debt and cheap outsourcing. We are left with the remnants, fading cardboard boxes, brilliant gouache paintings of a war long past, and the quiet, bitter memory of a time when Britain built the world, even if it was only in 1/72nd scale.